In this series, we're going to show you how well the Strymon Timeline integrates with the GigRig G3. Now this applies to any pedal that is controlled using MIDI. I'm just using the timeline because I've got one and I really like it. Because the timeline is capable of so many amazing delay sounds, the ability to create those sounds and store it in the timeline is really key. Now that I've got that sound, I can save that in the timeline. And that's just a matter of pressing and holding this middle encoder, and then it says save there. So that sound is now stored in the timeline. One of the things that MIDI allows us to do is recall those sounds. So if you can imagine, we've created these sounds and they are stored in locations in the timeline. MIDI allows us to say to the timeline, I want to recall a specific sound saved in a specific location. And to do this, we use a thing called PC messages or program change messages. On G3, I've got the MIDI connected to the timeline, Eventide H9, and of course the CXM1978. And what I can do is when I press a button on G3, not only can I tell the loops here to open and allow the sound through, but I can tell the pedal which sound I want it to recall. So this is the sound that I've just saved. If I press another button, you can see it's gone to a different sound here. And another one. So what G3 is doing is sending these program change messages to the pedals and recalling those sounds that are saved. So what this means is I can have loads of different delay sounds saved and then recalled by G3. So to do this, all I do is choose the preset in G3 that I want to use. I go into the edit window, I go to MIDI, MIDI out, and then I simply choose the MIDI message that I want to send to the pedals. All of the MIDI programming on G3 and Atom can be done either in the unit itself or via the web editor. So first of all, let's set up the MIDI channel. Each MIDI programmable pedal will have a MIDI channel that it receives information on. Think of each MIDI channel as a separate lane on a highway, and think of the traffic on each lane as MIDI data traveling on that channel. There's a person stood on a bridge over the highway, and that person is only watching a single lane of traffic at a time. This is how the MIDI channel on your pedal works. It's only looking at the channel you tell it to look at, from MIDI channels 1 through to 16. Or it can look at all the lanes of traffic, which is the Omni setting. By setting up each pedal with its own MIDI channel, I can send multiple MIDI messages from G3 or Atom all at the same time, but each pedal will only act on the MIDI messages that are sent on its channel. So in this situation, the timeline is in channel 2. So if I go over here, change to channel 2, and then choose the preset number that I want to use, and I press this preset here, it's gone to a different timeline preset. Now recalling these presets in the timeline doesn't have to be complicated. I can go to the preset that I want on the timeline, send it a MIDI message from G3, and then hit store on the timeline. And the timeline will know that every time it sees that message, it wants to recall that sound. Being able to recall these specific sounds that you create is a key part of using MIDI.